Hey, deep divers. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe.
Yeah.
Today, we're diving into a story that's got more twists and turns than,
Than a political thriller.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Washington Post,
Oh, yeah.
the institution that's been endorsing presidential candidates since, like, way back in 76.
76.
Well, guess what? Not this year.
Nope.
They've decided to sit this one out, and the fallout has been explosive.
Huge. Yeah.
We've got some intel from the Daily Beast and even the Washington Post itself, and we're going to unpack all the drama, all the power plays,
The trial.
and what this means for you as a news consumer.
Absolutely.
So buckle up and get ready to deep dive.
You hit the nail on the head.
Right.
The timing alone is wild.
Yeah.
We're just 11 days out from the election, early voting is already rolling, and the Washington Post drops this bombshell.
Yeah.
It's like they decided to throw a wrench into the whole political machinery.
Right. Talk about sending shock waves.
I-
Now, officially, the Washington Post publisher, William Lewis, is saying he's the one behind the decision, claiming he's not a fan of presidential endorsements.
Okay.
But, and here's where things get interesting, sources are saying he actually fought tooth and nail to keep the endorsement tradition alive.
Interesting.
Apparently, he even went head-to-head with Jeff Bezos himself,
Oh, wow.
the big guy who owns the Post.
Now, that's a juicy detail.
Right.
Because it begs the question, if Lewis was fighting so hard for the endorsement, what made him suddenly change his tune? And could Bezos, with all his influence and, let's be honest, his own complicated relationship with the current political landscape, have played a role in this sudden shift?
Ooh, good point. And it gets even more intriguing.
Oh, yeah.
We're hearing that a draft endorsement of Kamala Harris was already in the works. Imagine almost ready to go and then,
And then what?
oof, gone, vanished, like it never existed.
This is where it becomes crucial to understand a concept called editorial independence. You see, ideally, news organizations should operate free from the influence of their owners, allowing journalists to report and endorse based on their own judgments.
Right.
But when you see a potential endorsement get yanked at the last minute, especially with rumors of Bezos' involvement swirling around, it makes you wonder, is the Washington Post truly independent?
Hold on to your hats, deep divers, because the reaction from the Washington Post's own staff has been nothing short of a Category 5 hurricane.
Whoa.
Robert Kagan, one of their big shot editors, resigned in protest.
Wow.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We're talking over a dozen columnists, heavy hitters, like Karen Tumulty, David Ignatius, Jennifer Rubin, all publicly blasting the decision. They're arguing that, especially in this political climate, not making an endorsement is basically turning a blind eye to what they see as a serious threat from Donald Trump.
Their outrage makes sense. These are journalists who have dedicated their lives to holding the powerful accountable. They see this decision as a betrayal of those values, a sign that maybe, just maybe, the paper they've given their careers to is more concerned with pleasing its owner than upholding journalistic integrity.
And even the legends themselves, Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein.
The Watergate guys.
Yeah, those guys chimed in saying they were deeply disappointed. They're pointing to all the in-depth reporting the Washington Post has done on the potential dangers of a second Trump presidency. They're basically saying, hey, we've been sounding the alarm and now you're going to stay silent.
Yeah.
It's a powerful critique coming from them.
Absolutely. It really highlights the deep divisions within the Post itself. You have this clash between the paper's leadership and its own journalists who are essentially accusing them of abandoning their journalistic principles.
Okay, so we've got Bezos potentially pulling the strings, journalists in open revolt. This is getting intense.
Yeah,
But wait, there's more.
there is.
The Daily Beast article throws another log on this already raging fire.
Oh, wow.
They suggest that Bezos' decision might have something to do with his own business interests and his, shall we say, unique relationship with Donald Trump.
Now that's where things get really interesting and a bit concerning for you as a news consumer, because it raises the question, how much do personal relationships and financial interests play a role in shaping the news we consume? It's not just about Bezos and the Washington Post. This happens across the media landscape. Media consolidation, where fewer and fewer companies own more and more outlets, means that the biases and interests of those in power can have an outsized influence on the information that reaches you.
Hold that back up for a second.
Sir?
Media consolidation.
Yeah.
For those of us who aren't media moguls, break that down for us. What does that even mean for someone scrolling through their newsfeed?
Imagine this. You have a handful of incredibly wealthy individuals who control most of the newspapers, TV channels, websites, and even social media platforms you use to get your news. Now imagine those individuals have strong political leanings or financial stakes in certain outcomes. Do you think that might color the way the news is presented? Do you think certain stories might get buried while others get amplified, depending on who benefits?
Okay, yeah, I see where you're going with this. It's
Okay.
like if the person controlling the information has a horse in the race, can you really trust that the race is fair?
Exactly. And that's why this situation with the Washington Post is so significant. It's a high-profile example of the potential conflicts that can arise when powerful individuals have control over media outlets. It makes us question who's really calling the shots and whose interests are being served.
So we've got this huge respected institution like the Washington Post, caught in a web of internal conflict, accusations of outside influence, and now this whole media consolidation issue looming over everything.
Yeah.
What does this all mean for the average person trying to stay informed?
It means we have to be savvy news consumers. We can't just passively absorb information. We need to be critical thinkers to question the sources, to consider the motivations behind the stories we read and watch.
So basically, don't just take the news at face value. Do your own digging, look at
Yeah.
different sources, and try to get the full picture.
Exactly. And always remember, every news organization, every journalist has a perspective, a bias. The key is to be aware of those biases and to consume information accordingly.
Man, this is heavy stuff. It makes you wonder, what does the future of journalism even look like in this kind of environment?
It's a question that keeps a lot of journalists up at night, and hopefully news consumers like yourself.
Yeah.
If this episode teaches us anything, it's that the lines are getting blurrier between ownership and editorial, between business interests and journalistic integrity. Even between reporting the news and influencing it, the Washington Post's decision has thrown a spotlight on these challenges, and frankly, there are no easy answers.
So if I'm hearing you right, this isn't just some inside baseball media drama.
Yeah.
This is about whether we can even trust the information we're getting in a world where so much is controlled by so few.
You got it. And that's why this deep dive matters. The Washington Post choosing to not endorse, it's not just about this one election. It's a symptom of a much bigger shift in how news is produced and consumed. And that shift impacts you directly because at the end of the day, you need reliable information to make informed decisions, whether it's at the ballot box in your community or even just in your own life.
Okay, so let's recap what we've learned today. The Washington Post, a bastion of journalism, decides to break with tradition and stay silent on the presidential race. Officially, it's about neutrality, but behind the scenes, there are whispers of Bezos pulling strings, a potential Harris endorsement vanishing into thin air, and the paper's own staff revolting against the decision.
It's a tangled web, no doubt. And what makes it even more complex is that it all ties back to this larger trend of media consolidation. Fewer owners, more concentrated power, and the potential for those personal biases and financial interests to seep into the news you're reading and watching.
So what's the takeaway for our deep divers out there? What can we do to navigate this increasingly complex media landscape?
Here's what I'd leave you with. Be skeptical but not cynical. Don't assume anything is the whole story. Diversify your news sources. Look for outlets with a strong track record of accuracy and independence, and don't be afraid to dig a little deeper to challenge your own assumptions and to ask the tough questions. Because in the end, a well-informed public is the best defense against misinformation manipulation and the erosion of a free press.
That's some serious food for thought. Big thanks to our expert for breaking down this complex issue and making it relevant to each and every one of us. And deep divers, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. What are your takeaways from the Washington Post's controversial decision? We want to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep diving deep.